Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction.
See what the Empire has done to your lives? Your families and your freedom?
Good people will fight if we lead them.
The rebellion is spreading.
Now we take the war to them.
The Republic will be reorganized.
Systems either change or die.
Into the first.
You give way to an enemy this evil with this much power, and you condemn the galaxy to an eternity of submission.
And wake up. There is one way. They're fighting from the start.
Long live the Empire!
Fight the Empire!
Let's call it war.
Remember this. Try.
Hey, Sophie.
Hi, Eleanor.
How are old people and the Galactic Republic similar?
Oh, God. Dying?
They both have a tendency to collapse.
Oh, Eleanor, more.
That's not my last name.
Whatever.
Hello and welcome to Daughters of Ferrix, the podcast about politics and Star Wars that is off this week. That's right. I'm moving to Portland, dealing with all the difficulties that entails, so, you know.
I'm sad. I have no friends anymore. All of my friends are moving to Portland. And I'm not even joking. I have like 3 different friends who are moving to Portland.
You know what that means, Sophie?
Make new friends.
So yeah, we'll no longer be recording the podcast from my bedroom with my cat underfoot. Very, very sad. This week, we've got a little treat for y'all. Well, not for our patrons, I guess. Sorry, patrons. But we're going to play for you our first bonus episode. This is a more low-key installment where we speculate what the governmental situation could look like in the galaxy after the rise of Skywalker. It's very silly, and both Sophie and I get to talk about our insane utopian ideals. So listen to this bonus one. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a much longer conversation about Coruscant. In the meantime, enjoy. The Galactic Republic was originally formed 25,000 years before A New Hope. It survived conflict with the Sith and the Mandalorians, legal and political reformations, but then it experienced a civil war and was restructured into the First Galactic Empire. The Empire was intended to stand for generations. Instead, it lasted 25 years before having its teeth kicked in and its emperor thrown into a pit. And it was replaced with the New Republic. But fascism happens wherever you let it, and some people never really let the Empire go. Eventually, the New Republic fractured and fell into a Cold War that was only really broken when the First Order used a giant laser to exterminate the capital world. The First Order strong-armed themselves into a bit of galactic control, and then, in the twist of all twists, the evil wizard guy who always had a plan and a backup and a contingency had a contingency. Palpatine didn't stay dead and amassed a huge fucking fleet and was entirely ready to just do the Empire again. But people didn't want to do the Empire again. So with one last ultimate fuck you to the fascist system that defined the last 60 years, a fleet of 14,000 civilian craft, capital ships, subcapital ships, and fighters show the hell up to Exegol to blow up Palpatine's toys. It's very Dunkirk evacuation. Around the galaxy, even more of its population took a stand against the First Order on Bespin, on Lothal, on Naboo, and the Empire, once and for all, was gone. Probably.
Or was it?
Yeah. I don't know, it kind of seems like it, but it's not really clear. Hello and welcome to the very first Daughters of Ferrix bonus episode. If you're listening to this, it's because you choose to support us on Patreon.
Dumb idea, bad idea.
Yeah,
You're an idiot. Go fuck yourself.
Maybe spend that on your girlfriend instead, you know?
Spend that
She
on
deserves
getting
it. a
a girlfriend, because clearly you don't have one, because you subscribe to our Patreon.
We are very grateful for your patronage, and please give us money. More.
Yeah,
money.
Ellie doesn't have a job, and her job is podcast, and so she should get paid for podcast,
All right.
is my opinion.
We're going to go halvesies on the Patreon, right?
No, we are not.
Oh, okay.
I do
You deserve
nothing
money.
for this show.
You read a book twice.
I like
I've never
reading-
read a book twice for this podcast.
I like reading books, and I read a book 1.5 times.
Okay. Well, I like doing podcast.
Yeah, no, you're the one that's written every episode except like this one and the Nazi Gold one.
Oh.
So you get paid, and I am the amateur who's like, wow, Eleanor is so smart and good at researching things. Oh my gosh.
You deserve. Labor is valuable no matter how much of it you do.
Mine isn't because it sucks.
Okay. So, the final order is destroyed. The fascists are thrown out all over the galaxy. And then I don't know. We have no idea what happens next. Rey Skywalker looking out at the Tatooine sunset is literally the furthest thing forward in the canon timeline. I'm sure they've been waiting for just the right moment to jump forward and show us something more. At Celebration 2023, Lucasfilm announced a future movie wherein Rey as a Jedi Master is reforging the Jedi Order and powers rise up to tear it down. But all we know from that is that Rey understood the thesis of The Last Jedi, that Jedi whip ass and they're worth keeping around. But what the hell about the government? What's left when the New Republic was blown to bits and the First Order got smashed into the dust?
That's like, okay, I'm sorry, but that is like the most Aaron Sorkin line you have ever uttered. Like, what the hell about the government?
I am aware of Aaron Sorkin. I don't, that is the extent of my Sorkin
Look,
knowledge.
Aaron Sorkin made one good show and then didn't do that anymore. Because his
Just like George Lucas. No, that's a joke.
True.
Fuck Empire.
He made one good show. He made The West Wing, and like his like super smart, fast dialogue style was really good in that show because everyone in it is really smart because like, they work for the president. But then he tried to make other shows and did the same thing, but the characters weren't meant to be smart. And so
I think I've seen an episode of The West Wing. I would like to see more.
I am a religious devotee of The West Wing.
I should watch it.
It's very like 90s liberalism, I will say that.
Yeah, I can handle 90s liberalism, I am lived
90s
through
liberalism.
A lot of it. You were born in 2002.
But I'm still 90s liberalism.
Yeah. We probably won't see anything set after episode 9 for at least a couple of years. So let's speculate. There are 3.2 billion habitable systems in the galaxy. What happens now? Sophie, how would you arrange a galactic government?
The dictatorship of the proletariat, clearly.
How does that work on a galactic scale?
Well, it doesn't, because the trouble with governing 3.2 billion planets is that it's impossible.
It is actually 1.3 million planets.
Great. So the thing about governing, right?
And a million more on the way.
Wait, it's how many planets?
1.3 million.
Let's say you're the United Nations, right? And somehow you have escaped the Galactic Empire and the First Order without knowing that they existed.
You have escaped containment. The United Nations is fucking loose to the streets.
Danger. You have escaped confinement from planet Earth and are now like plotting to rule the galaxy.
As the United Nations often does.
As the United Nations often does, as we know from my good friend Alex Jones.
Friend of the pod, Alexander, middle name Jones.
First, let's kind of think about like India. Because the British Empire, right, ostensibly had control over India for 200-ish years. But they never did because trying to control 500 million people is impossible if those 500 million people do not actively want you to be controlling them. And even when they want you to be actively controlling them, they're still going to go beat each other up all the time, which is what's currently going on. So I don't know if you can effectively govern however many million planets, 1.3 million planets.
Something like that, yeah.
It's a little too much because in we're gonna bring up Asimov in Foundation, which is one of the more politics focused sci-fi series ever written. I guess I should say political philosophy focused sci-fi series ever written. He forms this galactic empire, right, which has, I think, close to 1 million planets, right? And they have to have an entire planet that is solely dedicated to running the whole thing. And it doesn't work still. They have an entire planet with 40 billion people dedicated to running the galaxy, and it still doesn't work. Why? Because there are simply too many variables once you get beyond a certain point. There are too many variables in the United States for the US government to effectively govern.
As a teenager, I mean, when you're a teenager and you're at least mildly interested in politics, you tend to get really into kind of whatever whack-ass utopian idea you can, which I highly recommend. I think it's largely very good for
I
teenagers.
was a Marxist-Leninist.
I think it's good for teenagers as long as they don't become fascist. But I was really into the idea of not of national divorce, but I liked the idea of not necessarily the 50 United States as they are, but I liked the idea of them being sovereign countries. I have way more complicated feelings about that idea, but I get where I was coming from.
Did you read the Harry Turtledove book on that?
No.
Oh, you should. You might like it.
What's the book?
It's called States Disunited or something.
Oh yeah,
and it's
I have not read it.
It's a little book he wrote about a war between Virginia and Ohio.
If you could choose any two states to go to war, which ones?
Texas and California, and here's why. Because the Texans think that they would win, like, immediately, because, like, we got so many guns, you know, we're Texas, #1. I'm sorry for being prejudiced against Texas, but I am.
Fine. I briefly lived in Texas. You get the Texas pass.
Oh, thanks. The T word pass. I mean, I already have one T-word pass, so might as well
just
add to the collection.
add it to the fucking Rolodex.
Yeah.
Flipping through for my slur pass. All right.
But the simple fact of the matter is that in modern industrialized warfare, the country with the biggest economy always wins. And California has, like, the economy. Like, if California was independent, it would be, like, by far the richest country in the world per capita, I think. So
I think North and South Dakota should go to war.
and that would also
I
be
think
quite
that'd be funny.
There can only be one.
Yeah.
Or North and South Carolina, although
I mean, Virginia and West Virginia, weren't they on opposite
they
sides?
kind of were, because
yeah.
West Virginia wanted to stay in the Union because they didn't have that many slaves. But
that
anyway.
didn't have that many slaves.
They didn't have that many slaves. Like Maryland didn't have that many slaves.
So, Foundation, you say that there is an entire planet dedicated
the entire plot of the Foundation series is about how trying to govern at that scale is sort of effectively impossible, right? Like, it just can't survive in the absence of political unity, of everyone wanting it to work.
So, okay, I gotta ask. Worst case scenario, we just get the New Republic again. The New Republic is around. Listen, I think the New Republic is really interesting as like a story about appeasement and like a liberal crawl towards fascism. But let's do something new, you know? I want some kind of whack-ass federation or whatever.
I would like the constitutional monarchy, which I still uphold to be the best form of government.
How would the constitutional monarchy work with
so you get the like imperial throne, right? That's presumably still sitting around in some like New Republic closet somewhere, and you elect a guy, right? But you elect him.
It's still in the Jedi fucking palace, the Jedi temple.
Go grab it. My ideal way of constitutional monarchy working is that you don't do it hereditarily, right?
You elect a queen.
No, you don't elect them. You don't elect them. You have a lottery that includes the name of every single living person. Every single living person who is within the domain of your kingdom, unquote. And then that person becomes the monarch, whether they fucking want it or not. Especially if they don't want it, actually. And then you just have like something relatively similar to the British, or preferably the Canadian. The British one kind of sucks because they don't have a constitution. Like the Canadian model of government where you have, you know, parliament and you have the king sitting in the background as, you know, like, look at me, I am King Charles, I rule Canada, etc., etc. But then when you have like a fascist coup attempt to take over, you have all these fascists who, because they are fascist nationalists, are extremely reactionary and loyal to the monarch. But the monarch, ideally, is a Democrat. And I mean that in the lowercase term, not in the American term, who is like, no, you cannot do a coup, and then pulls a King Alfonso I of Spain where he saves Spanish democracy. Okay,
that's bonkers, but I do actually... I think the principles of like democracy are important on a human level, but at the same time, statistically speaking, there is nothing to suggest that the people who choose to rule would be the best at ruling. There's no reason to think that, and so a type of government
having a guy who's just chosen like randomly, I rather like that. I think that's very democratic in spirit.
I do kind of like that. Do you choose a new one when they die?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so fucking exciting.
If you're elected monarch at like 85, because that can happen, you rule for like 2 years and then you die and then someone else is picked.
Is it like over an age cap or is it anyone?
Anyone.
That's a good call.
Even the kid, like you have a regency period.
Yeah, you know, that's insane. I like that, especially like in the galaxy. You just know there'd be some horrible like voter restriction equivalent or like voter suppression where like people's names aren't put into the lottery or are put into the lottery less.
That's like the trouble though, is like ensuring that the lottery is actually fair because you're investing, you know, like supreme authority in this person. They maintain the ability to dissolve parliament and such in case of emergency. So, but when they die, you know, like so. Anyway.
That would never work, but I do. That is very.
It would too work.
That is fun.
It is my ideal political system and it would work.
Okay. My ideal political system wouldn't work. I'm woman enough to admit that. Okay. Worst case scenario, New Republic just kind of survives intact. Everyone gets the same senators. They send them to a new capital. Where's the new capital? Coruscant was a part of the New Republic and served for a bit as its capital after Chandrila before the capital moved again. They have a rolling capital system. That's why it ends up on Hospital.
Yeah, before the Yuuzhan Vong destroyed Coruscant. Oh, wait, that didn't happen because they destroyed my favorite part of Legends.
It's not destroyed. It's still there intact.
I know.
It's just the other tab on Wikipedia. Like... Legends is still around.
I know, Ellie, I was being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was the New Republic capital, but a few decades later, when we're talking like sequel era, its senator was like a real war hawk who was an outspoken member of the centrists, which are the like quasi-fascists. So when the centrists largely secede from the New Republic, I don't know if Coruscant went with, but honestly, I kind of guessed that they did, and that they were like a first order planet, because they seem to be in some kind of state of political upheaval. We don't fully know about the actual local government of Coruscant, but I assume it's weirdly tied to like their place in the Senate and stuff, just kind of through tradition and through how it has been. So yeah, the first order doesn't seem that interested in governance. Palpatine moment. Because apparently by the time of like episode 8 and 9, the planet has descended into relative lawlessness and is largely under the control of like organized crime entities.
Good.
Tourism is down. The people still overthrew the First Order when the time came, but I really doubt that this planet that has like just upturned its government is really the location to be any kind of galactic capital.
They definitely stole this from Asimov as well, because this is what happens to Trantor, the planet we were talking about, with the 40 billion people who just do governance. Like, as the Empire recedes into the core, they just start rioting and shit, and eventually are like raided by barbarians, and the entire planet is destroyed. It's quite fun.
I really doubt that's stolen from Asimov. We have scraps about Coruscant. We have so little about Coruscant in canon post Ahsoka, I guess. Ahsoka was the last time we saw it. What we know about the state of Coruscant in episodes 8 and 9 is almost entirely from the Rise of Skywalker Junior Edition adaptation and some flavor text for the Ride Smuggler's Run, essentially. There might be another, like one more source.
If a planet of Coruscant's ecumenopolis status descends into chaos, billions will die very quickly because the food chain will break down.
Coruscant's shot. Coruscant is not an option. Where's the capital? The capital was on Chandrila for a bit. You could do Chandrila again. I think my crackpot choice, if it has to be a planet, it should be Corellia. Like, that's a weird pick, but I feel like Corellia seems to be doing relatively well through all of the fascist whatevers.
That's a good economy.
Yeah, billions don't die every day because of the poor decisions of... Because it really does seem like in the Clone Wars, the Senate also governs Coruscant.
Corellia has taxation without representation, just like DC, SMH, SM8.
You mean Coruscant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I'm actually thinking, though.
I think you should just put on a rock in space.
Unaffiliated space station.
Just a rock.
You gotta fucking Starlight Beacon that shit, where you put a lot of money into... Starlight Beacon doesn't stay around forever, but...
Pull Brazil, pull United States, pull in Australia, build a capital that is not in a state.
Or move it around.
Or in a planet.
You can move it around.
Like the
That's
Death
what they
Star.
do with Starlight Beacon to like offer aid and stuff.
Build the Death Star.
Laser and all.
Without the laser.
Okay, fine.
And then you just have the galactic whatever there.
The galactic whatever. Yeah, I think, make a space station. And if it has to have a spot that it's at a lot of the time, put it right fucking in Alderaanian space. Make them look at the asteroids from when
that's
from
good
when
idea.
the Empire
you want to
happened.
overthrow us, you got to like remember the genocide of fascism.
Because if it's a planet, it has to be along, like probably near to the core for
Put on Hoth.
the sake of,
Put on Hoth.
I think Hoth is like mid-rim, outer rim. I think you got to do something in the core.
Good. No, it doesn't have to be in the core, because the historic weakness of all galactic governments has been in the outer rim, not in the core. And so to stop the kind of lawlessness and crap that normally arises in the outer rim, you have your capital in the outer rim.
Portable capital. Space station.
Sure.
Only way.
With the Death Star laser, why not?
Yeah, sure. Tack it on there.
But it's only allowed to be used on ships and not on planets.
Right. And
like
it
has like a little computer.
It's the fourth Death Star.
It has a little computer in it, right? That if you try and aim it at a planet, it's just like, no.
And then the computer takes over, becomes sentient, as all Star Wars computers seem to show the capability of doing. What if it becomes like this just like horrible corporatocratic hellscape while the First Order is getting like, because they have this alliance with the corporate sector and with those sort of authorities, and they've overtaken like Sinar Janus and those. And what if the galaxy is just kind of held together with the corporations that own half of the planet?
There's worse outcomes.
Yeah, like what?
Empire 3.
Empire 3 would be better than capitalism.
Ellie and I showing our biases here today.
Sophie prefers capitalism. I prefer fascism, I guess.
Yikes.
You'll just get one from the other anyway. So we could go hard utopia. So in Ursula K. Le Guin's novel The Dispossessed, you get this picture of a 200-year-old anarcho-syndicalist structure on the planet Anaris. So Anaris' main organizational structure is the production and distribution coordination, staffed by elected individuals from community volunteers. They direct production and labor by use of complex computer systems that observe where in the community there is a need and which worker-directed labor firm, they're called syndicates, is able to supply. So the economy is designed to be supposedly zero waste and is based on a principle wherein any individual has the right to occupy land, resources, or structures that aren't already in use. Because food and resources are readily available to those who need them, theft is largely non-existent. If a person wrongs or intentionally harms someone else, they are socially shunned, they are reprimanded, and they are sometimes taken off of meal listings and pressured to go to a therapy center or asylum.
I like that they get sent to bed without their dinner if they do something bad.
They have to find food and cook for themselves. The worst punishment imaginable. No, cooking's fun. There are criticisms to be had of Anaris. Parts seem idyllic, but depending on your strain of socialism, the production distribution coordination might seem kind of overly authoritarian at times. They do explicitly restrict and censor communications off-world, which I don't love. In my opinion, they very much lack necessary decision-making structure in their meetings, which are apparently a chaotic mess. But still, I am in favor of flattening hierarchies, and, I'm something of an anarcho-syndicalist. I vibe with some of the ideas here. But you know why the galaxy could never realistically be anarchist?
It's too big.
There are 1.3 million planets. And basically all of them already have hierarchical governance. You got monarchy on some
Because as
and
it turns
oligarchy.
out, hierarchy is required for the functioning of society to some extent.
If we want to be technical, I guess, but also no. But it is funny, in The Dispossessed, Anaris is one of 2 planets in its system alongside the planet Urus. On Urus, there are 2 dominant states. One is extremely authoritarian, and the other is...
Wait, is Urus the one from The Left Hand of Darkness?
It is those stories. So you have an authoritarian state, and then you have this horribly patriarchal capitalist state. So the reason that Anaris has this structure that it does is that the people who created it were from Urus, and they start a rebellion. And in order to stop the rebellion from growing into a proper uprising, the powers on Urus basically say, okay, fine, you can live on the mining colony planet, and we'll promise to leave you alone. And Anaris continues to trade ore with Urus out of concern they'll renege on their agreement. So Anaris is this one, semi-utopia that exists because the capitalists are just okay, go away. Just go elsewhere.
I mean, I'll give all the anarchists in the United States, y'all can have, I don't know, what do you want? What area do you want?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. You can have it. Run your anarchist utopia and we'll all continue doing liberalism.
Yeah, we'll all continue doing liberalism. The level of coordination, insurgency, and successful revolution that would have to occur to make the galaxy more egalitarian in any way is almost certainly never going to happen on that scale, right? Which is fine, because it means we can get interesting stories about inequality and abuse of power and stuff, but damn, at least they're probably discrete worlds doing some kind of equitable society.
You have the
somewhere.
workers' paradise of the United Socialist Nabooian Republics or something.
Yeah. The only kind of paradisiacal planets either have some sort of horrible underclass or are just entirely populated by the rich. Is kind of how Star Wars does it. At least that I can think of. I might not know about something, but it sucks.
You could also go the hive mind route. You can do the Borg.
How?
They put a chip in your brain that makes you into a Borg.
Oh.
Or you could do wow, a lot of Foundation today. You could do the Foundation thing of hive mind assimilation via breeding. Because the end of the Foundation series, they find this magic planet where everyone is conscious of one another, including the planet itself is one big consciousness. And so the main character is given the choice by this planet to either continue doing the Selden plan and reestablish the Second Empire, or do the Galactic hive mind, and he ends up doing the Galactic hive mind.
That sounds like ass.
I agree.
How's the Federation set up in Star Trek? How's that work?
It sucks and it's stupid. It's the United Nations, but worse, and headquartered in San Francisco, which is better.
Why is it better to be
Because they put Bart on the Golden Gate Bridge finally.
That's it? That's why it's better? Is because they have the train there?
So, yeah, no, it's it is very much the United Nations if the United Nations had a military. Just all the planets are functionally independent, mostly, except Earth, which is kind of just mostly governed by the Federation because reasons.
The only reason the Republic stuck around is for plot.
Really?
They said in A New Hope that the Republic was around for a shit long time, and that's the only reason it stuck around. The Republic had no way to reinforce its own power. It had...
Okay, first of all, let me say, running a galaxy-wide government without a military is actually impossible. Like,
They have 10,000 Jedi, and
you're
that's
gonna have like some insane dude who raises like 1 billion soldiers, because that's really fucking easy to do in Star Wars, and starts like doing Mongol raids of your peaceful Galactic Republic. And you have to have a guy who can go blow his ass up.
The nice thing about the Republic is it does solve the existing planetary government's problem, right? It says just pick a guy and send them to class and
I mean, that is actually a fairly good way of doing things.
Yeah, it is a good way to just kind of be like, do whatever you do on your planet and then come to party with us.
I think the galaxy should be the European Union, right? Like, every planet has its own little government and can make its own little laws, but they all have to listen to the human rights laws of the Galactic Union. They all have to contribute money to the Galactic Union, which helps develop poorer planets. And they all have to send a guy to the Galactic Union to make the Galactic Union's laws.
That's basically what the Republic is.
Yeah, except without the human rights thing.
The Republic has some stuff.
The Republic-
Slavery is illegal, technically.
Yeah, but they have no mechanism to enforce that.
So-
The European Union has mechanisms to enforce.
Okay, it's the Republic, but we give them a military. This sucks. This is ass. We're just doing the
Almost
empire,
as though
but
society
without
cannot be perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What if we did a direct democracy?
Yeah, everybody has an iPad they have to carry around, and they have to vote on like the most specific things, like
every 3 minutes. It's like
The
the most
Naboo-
hellish be real.
it would not be every 3 minutes. It would be every like millisecond, because it's an entire galaxy. Like, oh yes, please remember to vote on the Naboo fisheries bill.
Friendly reminder that there are 100 quadrillion sentient people in the galaxy. I think the actual most interesting thing that they could do is actually do states. Not necessarily states, but like territories.
Interesting.
Like countries and galactic.
It would kind of probably be a good idea to have like a whole bunch of different countries.
Like a confederacy.
Sure, or actually do the UN and have a whole bunch of different smaller and presumably democratic states that are better able to govern their sectors.
And there are technically non-member states that exist outside of the Republic, but one, we never talk about them, and two, they don't matter. Like, it would be interesting if there were like superpower nations of groups of planets, and they were ass and
I mean,
did bad things.
War is
and
occasionally going to happen. It is a fact of life.
war is perpetually going to happen. They have to make more Star Wars.
Well, I mean, even if they didn't have to make more Star Wars, it's going to happen eventually.
More Star Wars?
No, yeah, well, fuck you. No, I kind of like the idea of like an actual UN, and there's like 400 little mini star republics that get to more effectively govern their 500 billion people instead of 100 quadrillion or whatever.
For the sake of organization, I really doubt Star Wars is going to give up on the established Republic sectors. There are 1,024, and that's really convenient, and we talk about sectors fucking constantly when we're talking about Star Wars. So to get rid of those at a certain point within the timeline would be really annoying. So they're almost definitely going to keep the sectors, even though it would be really interesting to see those like dissolved and reformed and stuff.
Well, I mean, or like little countries can have like more than one sector or half
Right,
a
but
sector.
that's what I'm saying is I think more than like it's planets or systems, I think you have territories that are sectors upon sectors upon sectors. You know, you have a country that's like 30 sectors.
500 billion people. Sure.
The United Confederation of
Naboo and surrounding territories.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think of any other names.
The Tatooine Republic. The
What if we-
United Soviet Socialist Republic of Rusan or something.
You know how everyone ends up on Tatooine like constantly? What if you make Tatooine the capital?
I mean, in terms of screen time, it might be the capital.
See, Rey's journey ends on Tatooine, which means she's never going to leave the planet, which also means that the government has to be set up there.
And the Jedi Temple.
Yes, of course.
Like the Jedi Temple on Tatooine.
Everything's
gonna
on
go
Tatooine.
hard. I feel like Tatooine should be more like Dune, and there should be worms, and the Jedi should like learn to ride them and stuff.
Just get a different planet. Why do Tatooine? There already kind of are worms. They're crate dragon. They're not worms, but
Oh yeah.
it does swim. Just ride
Close
crate
enough.
dragons.
Yeah, ride the dragon.
We don't need to do Dune. Dune does Dune.
Every sci-fi should do Dune because Dune is the best.
We already do Dune. We already have.
We have spice.
We have spice. We have jihad as established last time. Anyway.
That should be the next movement of Star Wars. The next like series, the
Is-
Butlerian Jihad.
oh right.
Where they
we're gonna
genocide
we're gonna
all
juke- We're
droids.
gonna. That's horrible. No.
This is how I'm tying all of my
I
different
know.
universes together.
I know your theory. Okay.
She said theory with such disdain. You should have seen her roll her eyes
Theory
at me.
derogatory.
She's so mean to me.
I think what we have is the Rey movie is a jihad. Is Rey constructing the Jedi Order and going to holy war against, I don't know, someone. Make someone up. It's Star Wars. Do something new. That's what it's about.
Invent a guy and get mad at him.
Anything else?
Have we discussed any other constitutional or other systems that we've missed? Absolute monarchy, but not fascist.
No. That's dumb. Okay, who's the monarch?
The Force Ghost of Leia. I don't know.
That's a good call, actually. That would work. I'll be honest with you, that would work. She's a part of the living force, so she could know all, technically.
A force-based theocracy.
Like the Church of the Force takes over.
I don't know.
They're they're the Jedi, but they can't.
No, the Jedi
fight.
take over. The Jedi theocracy.
All like 4 of them.
Well, there's gonna be more. They're gonna like Jedi procreate or whatever Jedi do to multiply.
Jedi mitosis. Why would they make a theocracy?
Because it would be funny. That's why.
I think you got to do something that has like that you can convert to.
Ayatollah Ray.
Oh, yeah. Great idea. They're just going to do the New Republic again.
We're just going to have an endlessly
gonna be the
repeating
new
series
Republic.
of New Republics until Star Wars finally dies when the world is annihilated in nuclear fire.
God willing.
Or Jesus returns. I don't know. Either one, whichever comes first.
I guess God willing. I don't know. The thing is that Star Wars is so hung up on the Republic that I would be so impressed if they did something else, like a warring states period, like anything. I'd be
Like,
so
I
pleased.
want to see, like, Rey and her friends, like, trying to survive being hunted by multiple warlords who are also murdering each other.
What I actually want is I want people like the Jedi to have to do what the Avatar does in Korra and constantly question if there's like a place for them politically to exist in a modernizing galaxy. Because I think that's really interesting. And go, well, all these people were doing imperialism. How do we handle these colonies? How do we I think I would love if Star Wars started asking those kinds of questions. It won't. It's just going to be about Jedi shit.
Corellia would make a great British Empire, I will say.
Because they have ships.
Sure.
Yeah, we institute a royal family on Corellia.
Or Naboo.
There already is I guess there is
And
a
then the
royal
Twi'leks, as we've discussed, are French.
Naboo
They
is
can
not
have
close enough to any
imperialism.
major hyperlanes for it to be as viable as Corellia, in my opinion.
That's interesting. How does galactic geography determine who gets to become the empires?
I was already looking at that earlier. That's why I chose Corellia. Is because they're right fucking on it. Because I was thinking about, I was trying to think about guys with economies, and I was like, Corellia has a decent enough economy. Fondor probably has some kind
A
of
real
good
struggle
economy.
for Eleanor thinking about guys with economies.
It's not comfortable. It's an actively traumatic.
The existence of capital is actively traumatizing Ellie.
It is.
In Star Wars.
It genuinely
a
is.
thing that is not real.
I've taken psychic damage from Star Wars before. It wouldn't be anything now. So here's our prescription. Star Wars.
Constitutional monarchy.
No, do anything else. Do anything other than the new Republic.
Look, I will take Ayatollah Ray over the New Republic, as dumb as that would be.
All we want is something new. That's what I want from Star Wars. Surprise me. Prove us all wrong. Please. Except for me. Prove me right. Make Corellia the fucking capital. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for giving us your money, suckers.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're very grateful. We'll put out another one of these in a month. If you are, I don't actually remember. I think if you are on the ridiculous $50 or above tier, I think you can vote on bonus episode topics.
Since there'll probably only be one of you for a very long
yeah,
time.
If there are any.
That means that you just get to choose episodes.
Monarchy.
So
you are like our ruling monarch, if you think about it. Whoever you are. Pick good. I don't want to have to do a dumb one. All right. If you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, you can send them to our show email, daughtersferrix@gmail.com.
if you want to listen to new episodes as they release every other Wednesday, you can find us on most places you can listen to podcasts, on our website, daughtersofferrix.com, or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at FerrixPod, FerrixPod.
If you're able, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/daughtersofferrix. I have been Eleanor Mueller. You can find me at The Letter Bomber on most platforms. Sophie, where where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at Sophia in SLC on Twitter and at my other podcast at @theredline_pod, also on Twitter. We talk about trains.
Our episodes are written and edited by me, Eleanor Mueller, and Sophia Dunstan. Our podcast art is by Jill Mueller. Our intro and outro music was arranged by me, with themes by Nicholas Bertal and John Williams. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening.